What is up, nerds? It's me, your buddy, your pal, HeyArcher. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, first of all, welcome. Second of all, like, comment, and subscribe. That's actually like 4 things. I just thought about that. So do all 4. Welcome yourself, like the video, subscribe to the video, and feel free to comment on the video. And also, just launched this week the HeyArcher merch store. A lot of you have asked where you can get cool mugs like this. There's also the shirt, the nerd affiliated shirt. I don't even know if you could see that because I was not looking. But the reason I even made this shirt was a lot of you said you like the content, but you don't think you're nerdy enough. So there you go. There's a shirt for you. You're nerd by affiliation. But today is HeyArcher episode. I should have looked that up. I always forget to look that up. I think we're on 157, if I remember. If I'm not, comment right now. Correct me. I'll read the comments. But we have a new friend of the show. My friend in real life will be your friend shortly. And I always say special guest when somebody new is on. But this one in particular is special. We're rolling in my good friend, Senor Danny, in the house from Nerdy Money. Danny, how are you doing today?
All right. Thank you for having me on, man.
Yes. So what I was going to do, first of all, I'll let you guys in on one thing first, on our backstory. And then I'll do my normal question I ask somebody who's new on the show, which is what makes you let me know and the audience know, what is it that made you nerdy at first? Like, what show was it? Or was it a comic book or that kind of thing? So while you think about that answer, Danny and I actually met in high school. And like a couple friends, actually, that I have now, we weren't like super tight in high school at all. And it wasn't until college that we actually then like really became friends. And Danny actually is in the finance world, even though that was not always the plan. Danny is an accountant, but he can go through all that later on. And actually, he helps me with all of my financials. So this episode is not a sales pitch by any means. However, Danny is launching Nerdy Money, and that's going to be his podcast, his platform. So that way, if you do have that kind of questions on those topics, can be your go-to person. So I wanted to bring him on anyway, and then he was talking about making content. So, Danny, before we dive into any of that kind of stuff, what was your first nerdy anything? What was it that pulled you into this world of nerddom, which is not even a word?
Man, you just threw me back into memory lane. Saturday morning cartoons. It was easily the double duo, which was Dragon Ball Z.
Yep.
And Samurai Pizza Cats. I don't know if you recall that one.
Yes.
They were literally back to back in the morning.
They were, yeah.
Show. Yeah. So, man, that easily threw me into the whole anime and nerd fandom. From that point on, it was pretty much downhill from there, or uphill, however you want to put it. I just rolled into another series.
Socially downhill.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. So yeah, easily had to be DBZ, man.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
I can't remember which episode it was. I was talking to somebody, and I was saying how the struggle was real. You know, I always joke that for all of you youngsters that watch the show, if you want to watch something, you just go on the internet, pull it up, and that's it. When we were growing up, you didn't have that option. And then, of course, somebody older would say, well, I didn't even have a TV. But for us, it was just whatever was on that day, that was your one shot to watch it.
Yeah. And that's a fact.
It's one of those things where with Samurai Pizza Cats, it was all random. Like that show didn't even have a story. I came to find out as an adult. And then the second thing with Dragon Ball Z, as you mentioned, every time you would wake up, watch it, and once you're in that they're on Namek, and the Ginyu Force shows up, you're like, all right, maybe last time I missed all the new episodes, but Goku's showing up, and we're gonna get Goku versus the Ginyu Force. And then all of a sudden, the next day you wake up, and fucking Raditz is coming, and you're like, God damn, like, it stopped there.
The series.
Yeah.
No, you're right, man. You're absolutely right. I recall that. For me to catch up, this was back in the old days, man. You don't see these now anymore.
Yeah.
When they had pretty much like the anime shops, and where they had like the collector cards, the anime good. There you could get kind of like the VHS tapes.
Yes.
Whether it was bootleg or if it was like official, that was the only way you could really catch episodes if you missed it, if they weren't even airing. And that was back in the time when they were pretty much still dubbing, because they were so far behind in regards to the Japanese releases, that I think, what was it? It was a good while, maybe a year or two, several years before they even finalized it on the English side, I want to say.
Because it was one of those where I think, if I remember, I watched some video that like was breaking it down, and if you were buying the official VHS, I think at a certain point it was only sub. They got just past when Goku shows up to fight Raccoon of the Ginyu Force. They had just got past that, I think, and it was only subtitled. And then it wasn't until Toonami grabbed it and saw the ratings that they were like, okay, we need to dub all that stuff because you've already filmed it. Like, we already had the footage. They just stopped dubbing at that point. So I think that's why people were able to buy the legit version and have it. But yeah, the only way you were watching it in English was only up to that one point. Otherwise, you had to subtitle it.
Man, that was the good days. That was the good days.
Yeah. And it was also too like I talked about it also on an episode. It was like you appreciated when you got something new because it took a lot of work to get it. So even before you get to internet, like when you're talking about getting those VHS tapes, like as a kid, you were probably taking the bus, taking like the $20 you had, go the one direction to the mall to get like that one tape, to then take the bus all the way back, watch that one tape, and then that was it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. And that was assuming they had the VHS tape for this set of episodes you needed. Yeah. You're talking about what? It was like 300 plus episodes. Mm-hmm. So it was very easy. You're talking about like almost like dozens of tapes that you needed just for like one series. Yeah. I mean, thankfully you could argue like back in the old days, 20 episodes usually counted for one fight. So it's hard to miss anything in those series. But still, like, you were lucky if you were able to get like the VHS tapes in sync. Like, in other words, like you weren't missing anything from like 1 to 20 and then 20 to so on. Because there was times where it basically like, all right, now I got to come back next week, and then next week and next week. It's like you said, you still had to take a bus or drive, and you're talking about we were kids. Yeah. So it was basically taking the bus just to get to these shops, and there was only that one shop. Yeah. Because these were like very rare back then. It's like you had to go to one of those specialty anime shops. Yes. It wasn't like you could go to Blockbuster to pull that. Yeah. I remember the one that was always elusive, because everybody on the show knows that I'm from New York.
And the one that was always elusive was, I just had it and it left my head. Was it like Dragon's Den or something like that? What was the one that was in like Westchester, New York? It was like Dragon something. And
was that in one of those strip malls?
Yes.
Type spots?
Yeah.
And I think they even had like the DBZ figurines.
Yes.
Or like I know which one you talk. That's, you know what? It's funny because that's the exact spot.
That's probably the one you went to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the only spot available. That was the only one that actually had that stuff. Unless you went to maybe like Chinatown or something like that.
Yes.
But in Westchester, where I was living, closer by there, that was the spot I was going to. So and that man. And it's funny because it was still, I think it's still open to this day.
Really?
As a matter of fact, yes. Now they cater to like a little more like a slightly broader crowd. Yes. Like, they went into later to like Pokemon cards and other stuff and Magic and things like that. Now I want to say it's probably one of those shops that may not open again, but it was still easily open that I could think of earlier this year, if anything. So I'm surprised. It definitely passed through the test of time.
Well, one of the things that we were talking about too a long ass time ago was, and by the way, if any of you have made it this far without subscribing, please do so, because that takes a lot of your nerd levels are super high that you made it this far in the conversation already. So subscribe and all that stuff. We were talking before about how like businesses kind of have to pivot with their markets, and even just now you were saying that how like now they're more broad. One of the things that I heard come up a long time ago was a place like GameStop. All they did was expand like maybe what they carried, but they didn't encourage people to like congregate there. And that place, I remember back in the day, was for a long time the only place you can actually go and play Yu-Gi-Oh versus somebody else, like with tables out and stuff. And I think now the only places that have survived in that realm, no pun intended with Yu-Gi-Oh there, but the only places that survived in that realm of like still thriving like well are places that incorporate card games or Dungeons and Dragons or something non-video. Because otherwise you're just at home just playing games with your friends. There's no need to go somewhere else, you know?
No, yeah, you need that like physical interaction because it's like you said, you know, GameStop is pretty much, they're like almost like a shell of what they used to be, technically speaking. All the consoles are you buying games online. PC, you're buying games online. You know, I would say the only thing that they're really making their money on, if anything, is used games, which even that you could argue, you're talking about like an older library type game, stuff that maybe you don't get on eBay or you just want it sooner, you'll go to these spots. Otherwise, it's hardware. Yeah. It's hardware. And now if you go to, if you've been into them, now you see like they're incorporating a lot of merchandise now.
Yeah.
So like now you're seeing like a lot of figurines, you're seeing a lot of like special game merchandise and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And back then you didn't see that as much. Now it's pretty much taking like easily above 50% of the floor space now when you go there. Back then it used to be more used games, but the last couple of times I went there, and honestly, this was like probably last year.
Yeah.
I went to GameStop. Yeah. It was heavily merchandised now.
Yeah.
You know, besides that, hardware. But even then, you know, you only get like a new system every few years. So I'm surprised they made it this far too, to be honest.
Yeah. No, and somebody that was kind of cutting into that even area was Best Buy. Like Best Buy in the last, 4 years has upped their like nerd toys and replica like section. Like they just made one. And like now when you go to the video game section of Best Buy, you'll see like, you know, a Captain America replica, or Iron Man behind me. I say Captain America, but you'll see like an Iron Man helmet there. You'll see a Captain America shield. You'll see Star Wars figures. Like Best Buy is doing that too. And it's like, well, where before, you know, dad's going to buy a new TV, takes a kid to Best Buy, but then we got to go to GameStop because then you want to look at figures or even Yu-Gi-Oh cards or Pokemon cards. Now that's in Best Buy too. So like now there is no two-stop.
Yeah.
Now there is no two-stop. You're just the one. So they're I think they're done for. I think especially now with people not even going to stores.
And it's funny because video game sales are up at an all-time high. Yeah. It's just everything's online now. Yeah. So GameStop is just basically, you know, the only way they make it past this year is pretty much the new consoles coming out later in the year. You know, they'll make their money out of there, worst case scenario. But otherwise, you know, it's just they've literally by a thread, you know. And it's funny because you figure like in the last 2 years when the classic consoles came out, like the NES and the SNES, the retro collection started blowing up again. Mm-hmm. So they were kind of like picking up a little bit. But if you go to your local shop, they usually don't have that many, you know, options anymore. A lot of that, you know, they kind of like cleaned up the inventory to make way for stuff that actually sell on a regular basis. They're not going to really cater to, you know, hobbyists that still collect games here and there. At least not anymore, I want to say. So
no. And down below in the comments, like if you're on YouTube watching this, let us know when's the last time you actually went, COVID aside, but like the last time you went to like GameStop or like you can't even go to Think Geek anymore because they closed. But the last time you went to a non like Best Buy store to buy any kind of video game stuff, or do you just do online? Like even write that down below. I'm curious to see how many people have just gone full online with that one.
I'm curious to see people that go there GameStop to buy a Steam card.
yeah.
just the irony of that.
It is hilarious. It is hilarious. And dude, those sell the PSN cards. Primarily, I gotta say, I've seen it more times as like I'm buying a gift for whoever. I need to buy this card.
Right.
But still, there were people coming in that it's usually people who don't have a credit card or a debit card for financial reasons that are like, I need to buy these cards.
Can't leave a paper trail for this.
Can't leave a paper trail on that one because I technically don't make any money. But I just bought like $3 million worth of game cards.
That's crazy. I always wondered how much those things sell. But I mean, I would argue, I guess it's still showing up on shelves today.
I mean, hey, prepaid cards sell. Like prepaid phone cards, like those still sell.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's for obvious reasons in some scenarios.
Same clientele buys both. So one of the other things, other reasons I also wanted you on the show, I like how it went a financial path or direction unintentionally, like just in conversation. But the other reason I wanted you on the show was you are starting your Nerdy Money, which is, I guess, the name's still pending, but I think it's a good name, and you seem to like the name. So whatever you decide you want that name to be, you let me know, and I'll revise all links down in the description. But you're starting your own channel, and I thought it'd be cool to have somebody on who is starting straight from scratch, straight fresh. Because it's been a while since I started this channel, and sometimes advice that I give, I think it's like beginner advice, but it could still be a bit of a stretch. So I already give you credit on being on a video podcast out the gate as your first thing. But I guess, moreover, what is it that made you want to start a YouTube channel, and one that has to do with being a nerd, but also the finance kind of stuff?
Oof, where do I begin? I want to say I wanted to do this even before COVID, for example, because one, I wanted to get more FaceTime with the clients, which, it's a little, you would think that I see clients on a regular basis. To be honest, probably in the last 2 years, I want to say, very rare do clients come to the office. It's not that I don't have a large number of clients. It's just everything's been handled digital for quite a while now. So just a quick summary. I handle a virtual accounting firm. So we handle clients on a regular monthly basis, every day, depending on their needs, bookkeeping, accounting, tax, whatever. So everything's usually done online, emails, phone calls. Very rare that I ever had to see them face to face. So because of that, it just became a norm where it was like perfectly fine not to see a client like face to face for like over a year or two. So after a while, you kind of feel like you lose that connection. It's like, imagine like you're losing connection with your audience, like you do these videos so they can see you. So accounting in the last easily, I want to say probably 2-3 years, is starting to really pick up on social media more and more. So while the older cats, they're kind of taking a while to like catch up, it's like trying to learn new tricks and things of that nature. Maybe they're not good technology wise, so they don't want to really get into it. A lot of the younger crowds or the mid 30s, 40s, accounting professionals, they're starting to really ramp up social media. And this was again starting in the last 2 years when like virtual accounting services were starting to really pick up. So I felt, given my background with technology and things of that nature, that I was like, all right, it should be an easy start. That didn't happen for like 2 years. That's obvious to this day. And there was a number of issues that I faced, which we talked about a little bit in the background. One of them was the anxiety in regards to starting a video or podcast. Was something that was literally nerve-wracking for me. It was like, all right, who the hell wants to see my face? Who wants to hear me? They're not going to know me. It's just those starting little fears that you have with anything you do. And whether it's a business or anything of that nature, it was just something that really held me back. Meanwhile, as I'm going through the months and years, I'm seeing a lot of people starting to pick it up. They're starting to grow and I'm starting to get more anxiety in the background. I was like, I should have started that long ago. So it was probably when I spoke to you, and it was like, you just told me straight up, just start it. Just get the first one out there. And, from there, it's all downhill, like they say. So, today I did the first recording, in fact. Nice. So now I got to go through the whole process of editing and things like that. And still dealing with anxiety in regards to like, okay, do I put background music in this thing? Do I do an intro here? Should I just run straight into the thing and so forth? So there's a lot of little things I'm still trying to pick up and trying to get used to, but I'm learning more and more to just let go of the fear. Essentially just like they say in Nike, just do it. Just get it out there. Whether I F it up or anything like that. The more I just keep doing it, the more I learn, the more, I pick up new tricks and stuff like that. That's the mentality I'm trying to take right now to start it. So, I'm hoping that I get better at it and, kind of take it from there. But, so, yeah.
And that's the thing is, for everybody, for all of you listening, this is a continual like learning experience. And even just that statement I said there, like one of the things that I'm trying to do more often when I'm doing this as a podcast or any recording is start using you versus you guys or they or whatever. Because podcasts are generally more one-on-one versus a live type of show. So even things like that, there are things that you'll learn along the way that you wouldn't even think of because they're not a normal thought. But as you start building the show, building the podcast, that's where you start making like slight improvements here and there, little by little. And the other thing too that I like is that you were like, I just record it, like just make one and just do it. And that's really it. Like that's really what it takes is just take that phone, take that webcam, take whatever it is, and just make episode 1. And for me,
that in 2 hours before it.
Yeah.
It took me like 2 hours to push the. I kid you not. It took me like 2 hours to like finally. I'm just gonna push it and just start it from there.
No, and that's the thing is like there's a lot of days where you're just like, all right, I'll do it later. I'll do it whatever. Now's not a good time. Like you kind of start making excuses for it. And it's just one of those things like you just have to just do it. I hate saying just do it. Like that's such a marketing genius thing.
No, but it's true. It really is because, probably the two biggest anxieties where I have is one is like, all right, I either feel like I look like crap or two, I sound like a whiny child. like you record yourself and it's like, God, I sound like that.
Yeah.
No one needs to hear this, this atrocity. So, I got past that point to the at least today. I know I say it like I'm an expert, but at least I got to the point where I hit record finally. And now I'm going to like start cutting it up, start prepping it and start uploading and so forth. There's still like so much stuff that I don't know. I mean, thankfully for YouTube, I could kind of like like jerry rig my way into at least like the first episode more or less, but I'm getting there. Probably one of the still open items I'm not 100% sure, but I got this far, so I'm assuming I'm going to probably go both paths, was whether I was going to do the video or podcasting. If you recall, we were talking about that. I was like, all right, if I do video, should I do podcasting? There's so much content on YouTube. I don't know if I really want to go down that path and just waste my time. Yeah. Maybe podcasting is the way to go, but it's also a small audience. Like, am I really going to capture those people? And then at the end of the day, I thought about, like you said, just do it. And see where the audience kind of takes you. Just see what comes in, and then what do people like, and kind of get feedback. And then later on, I thought about, let me kind of like also cater it to the way like a client will want to hear it. So like if I'm giving advice or talking about a topic, I like to talk to them like one-on-one, like a normal person. If I get too technical with terminologies, they're gonna be like, "Well, okay, that's great, Danny. That just went past my head.
Yeah,
can you dumbify that for me?" So I kind of just thought of it in that sense and just kind of went from there because like you were talking about earlier, I kind of looked at other channels and other videos and things like that just to get a sense, like, all right, what are my colleagues are doing? Like, what kind of videos they're doing? And then from there, I kind of gathered like, okay, I like how he said this thing. I like how he presented that. This is how I would like to do it. But then that also brings on another set of challenges. Like, I don't know if you experienced it yourself, was like one, which was another fear I had was, I just had it in my mind. It's like a copycat syndrome.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure there's you know the terminology I'm saying, where you feel like, all right, it's already been said and done already. Yeah. Like the people want to see another channel and things like that. And then that was when another colleague of mine's, Jose, told me like, bro, who cares?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they come to your channel, it's because they came for you.
Yes.
Regardless of whether the content is. You think Joe Rogan talks about like one thing that like millions of other people don't go? I'm sure. Mm-hmm. I'm sure people don't like Joe Rogan. They'll go to others. I'm sure other people don't like other people. They'll go to Joe Rogan. Like get your audience, if anything. Yeah. Don't worry about the idea of having like a copycat syndrome.
Yeah. Think about it too. It's if we're gonna let's change businesses slash like what the thing is. In the fitness world, there's a new person every day that's like, today's the day I'm going to start fitness. Like that, it's every day. And yeah, this is how you do a bicep curl video. There are millions of those videos online. But you know what? Every day is a new person that's like, how to do a bicep curl. And the thing is, the way that YouTube, the way that iTunes, Spotify, all of them, the way that all of them work it's based on the topic and what's the newest one. And you know what? Your bicep curl video that you made 7 years ago, not going to be high on the search thing. So yeah, repeat it. But that's also where the copycat thing comes in. Like, yeah, there's very little things we can talk about that have not been talked about. What you can do is be that different one person that people are seeing. And you're like, oh, I actually like this personality. I like the way that Danny explains it to me. But also the combination of things. Like you as a person, me as a person, we're different than the next one or the next one. So like, yeah, there's, for example, I can't think of his name. There's a guy on YouTube that I'll watch like his finance videos on. I don't watch him in a like, oh, like we can hang out type of way. Cause he only talks finances and that's it. But like a channel like yours, it's like, oh, in the same channel where Danny's talking about Dragon Ball Z, he also just did a whole like 10 minutes off random about putting money aside from taxes on capital gains from your YouTube channel. Like that combination of thing, those are not common. And that's where you build that audience, build that tribe.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to my buddy Jose in regards to that. Where I was like, damn, I don't know the type of topic where I was gonna stay on, because I remember I was telling you where I was like, all right, I'm gonna talk about like tech and things like that, or we could talk about like audio. I've yet to have like a clear path in regards to the channel. And I figure, you know what, like at that point, I'm kind of just winging it more or less. Like at that point, let's just take it, see where it goes, see what people like, and kind of get feedback. And at the same time, I would argue that, you know, do something that you like as well. Because if you're not liking the type of content the content that you're putting, you know, you're just doing it. And it's different than what you're saying, like, okay, do it. Is more in the sense like, all right, you're just doing it just to, you know, I guess like just to actually put something out there, but you're not invested in it, let's say. Like it's not gonna feel authentic. It's just, you know, like it's a shell of what you could really put out there for some other topic that you want to talk about. So that was something that I feel like maybe doing like different type of series, I guess. Like on certain days, I'll put this kind of content, and certain days I'll put like more business oriented type content. Like that's kind of like my thought process right now as to how I want to go. Kind of like separate it and maybe in some ways kind of merge it depending on the topic. Where it's like, all right, well, on this type of series, this is what I'm going to talk about more in regards to business. These are more like tailored to like clients or to new potential leads, things of that nature, you know. But at the same time, it was like a twist and like, I guess like a nerdy feel to it, where it's like, all right, people are starting to get like what you were saying earlier. It's like they're getting a feeling of who I am as a person. You know, like I'm just like not a guy in a suit in the back end just talking financing, and I just feel like a robot. You know what I mean? Like, there's a personality behind the person that's taking care of you and so forth. And then on the other days, do things in regards to like the actual like full on nerd topics, like the old school retro talks and things of that nature. So that was kind of like the thought process that I'm still kind of gearing towards right now, and going to take this, if anything. We'll see how it goes.
You get, and I don't know if you've been watching my shows lately, so don't be startled, but you will get this soundbite. That's what you get. But it's true. And it's, you'll see, like I remember, or 2 points kind of based on what you were saying there. The first one, for me personally, I remember watching Physiques of Greatness, and that YouTube channel was run by Chris Jones, who now has another YouTube channel. That's a long story. But with him, it was about, he started a channel based on personal training, and he was going to use the videos to try to get clients to be a personal trainer. So that was the original structure of the channel, which it still has a lot of that now, but that was the original pocket it was in. Then eventually he was like, I think I want to talk about other stuff too. Like my life is not just bicep curls or curls for the girls or what was it? He had a whole bunch of sayings, whatever. But I remember the video that hooked me onto his channel was they did I believe it was a review of, because this is how long ago that was. It was like X-Men Origins, maybe, or one of the X-Men movies. And that was the moment where I was just like, oh, he's like we could hang out. Like he's equal nerd to I want to get bigger biceps. And that
he's relatable.
He's
I
relatable
guess, in that sense.
Exactly. And that's where the personality comes through in doing content outside of what that one kind of thing is. Now, there's different ways you can do it. Like you can also just do all right, I'm only going to talk, let's use the bodybuilding thing again. Like I'm only going to talk bodybuilding, but then, my shirt maybe is a Dragon Ball Z shirt, or maybe I'm like, yeah, so you can get arms like Goku. And then it's like, you could drop gems like that. But I personally think it's good when they see the other side. So the way you said it, like maybe on one day it's this, and then on the next day it's that. And that way people get to see both,
I agree. There's now that you bring up that YouTuber, there was another one that I follow that made me kind of get that thought process, which was Scott Herman. Mm-hmm. Same scenario where pretty much he's a fitness guy, started it more on the fitness oriented path, and then later started going more into like, all right, this is like, and he's like a hardcore Dragon Ball Z fan. So then he later started another channel, which was Scott Herman, the Insanity. Basically, same scenario, like what you're saying, like a little bit, like people started seeing like, oh, he's starting to wear like the DBZ shirts and like for training, workouts, stuff like. And then later he was like, yeah, I'm going to start this channel and just this is who I am. Like in the back end, like I like doing this, I like this show and so forth. So like that really like kind of also inspired me to take on that same perspective, like you're saying. Which is pretty much like, I feel like I could talk about business and also talk about like random stuff that I like personally. That he was definitely one YouTuber that I follow, in completely different industry, but the same concept of what I was wanting to do, more or less.
And that's key, is having that person that you're like. Actually, the other point I was going to make was when you said content that I would want to watch. That's the basis of MKBHD. I always mess it up.
Yeah.
Marquise Brown or whatever.
Yeah.
Like his thing when he started YouTube I think he was like 15 or something. He was like, I only want to make videos that I would want to watch. And that was always the baseline for what he was doing. And it's funny because he also falls in line where there's the saying of don't judge your present on somebody else's present. Like you watch that guy's channel now with the quality of videos that he does, with the camera shots and the angles and the access he has to like, I'm gonna go talk to a Tesla dude for like an afternoon, like
Bill Gates.
Yeah, or Bill Gates. He does what is that called?
I saw that episode.
Yeah. He does. It's like the yearly. He calls it like the yearly business recap or something with Bill Gates. Like that's what he's at now, right? So you watch that and you're like, man, that's like so far. I can't grab that. But go onto his channel and filter by the oldest video, and it's him on like a really crappy Android phone, talking about the computer that he just bought. And he didn't know the specs on the computer. He didn't know anything about it. But he talked about the things that he would want somebody else to talk about when reviewing a computer. And then little by little, it starts to go. So it's one of those that does come. The one thing I will say, though, as in making an exception to the rule, is if you're watching a YouTuber and you're like, I like how they do blank, try to replicate it as far as it's not content, like if don't be like, oh, I like the way that Joe Rogan does this break and that break, and maybe not that kind of thing, but if it's camera angles, if it's length of the show, if it's like things at the bottom of the screen, all of those types of things, that's where you're like, all right, I'll pull from this, I'll pull from that, and then little by little make your thing.
I agree. I've actually been like kind of doing that like as a way of like doing homework more or less.
Yeah.
Kind of like seeing like, okay, the position of the microphone, the position of the camera angle, the position of like, all right, what do I want to show in the background? Things of that nature. Because before, I was just having like a camera just zooming at me, and just my ugly mug. And it's like, okay, I don't think anyone wants to see me speak in that way for like past a minute. So like, that's what I did. I started watching like a lot of YouTubers, listening to some podcasts, just getting like idea. I was like, okay, like, you know what? I like this format. I like the way that he's doing this. Mm-hmm. And, it is dangerous because at the same time, it's like you said, like, you got to be careful where it's like, damn, I'm going to copy that. And you're not copying it content by content, word by word. It's just the style and the manner of how they did that video. It's definitely something that's been like I've been kind of like picking up on certain things and ways of how to go about it. But it's like you said, I feel like I'm literally MKBHE. I totally butcher that. Yeah, like Marcus Brownlee. Yeah. Like I feel like I'm just like that little kid taking that camera phone and just starting that first video and just like winging it essentially and just kind of going from there. But then it's always that hurdle where it's like, all right, it's the first video. So it's got to be perfect. And I'm trying to like little by little, like set the bar lower. It's like, no, okay, maybe I don't need like an OD intro. Like, let's take it down. Okay, maybe like, background sound doesn't have to be epic. Relax. Let's take it down a notch. And then like kind of getting it to a point where I just feel comfortable. It's like, you know what? Like, this is good. Just send it out. And kind of like set like a limit, which is another thing. Cause I could easily say out of experience where it's like you worked on something, you recorded a video, you recorded audio, and you're just like continuously tweaking it, fixing it. And then before you know it, like a couple hours turn into like a day turns into 2 days, 3 days, before you realize a week passed. Yeah. And you feel like, well, no one wants to watch it at this point. Yeah. And that's happened to me twice in the past where it's like, you know what, like I just gave up on it. So now I'm setting myself up with just like pretty much like a timeline, like by tonight, after I spend like, let's say 2 hours tops, if I'm not done with it, I'm just going to put it out. Even if it's just for like clients or just for the world out there, just to throw it out there, I'm going to put it one way or another. Yeah. Like you have to set yourself up with like at least like a limit on the first episode or podcast you're doing that you just got to get out. Even if you don't publish it, I would just say at least getting something done and finalized and just have it out somehow. I know it sounds crazy. I'm saying send it out, but not publishing it. But it's just it's very easy to just have it sit in your hard drive and not do nothing. And then it's like you just killed and wasted several hours because of your own anxiety, pretty much.
100%. And another tip in there, like this is the one where, so Pat Flynn is the host of the Income Stream that I watch every day now in quarantine.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And he, like him, the amount of information that he dumps out there. And by the way, if you have not watched it, all of you should watch it or listen to it. The amount of information he gives in content creation and building, your brand, it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of information. Like these are things people normally pay for. Yeah. There's one thing that he and I disagree on. And Pat Flynn says when you're going to upload a podcast, you should have 3 to 5 episodes ready. So when you hit publish, if somebody listens to one and they're like, oh, that was good, I want to see if there's more, there's some other ones they can listen to and watch while they're in the moment, right? Which I understand the concept of that. And I'm not totally against it. But where I've seen people fall before are the exact thing you pointed out, where you're like, you make the episode, you edit the episode, it sits on the hard drive. It's very easy, and you pointed out to that, it's very easy to be like, all right, it's done, it's on the hard drive. I could drag it into the online, but I'll wait until I have the other 3. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'll wait till I have 5. And you're like, I didn't like this one, I'm going to switch it out. because you do over time get better, and the way that you deliver your message gets better, the audio quality gets better, all of those things get better. And the more episodes you make, I always find that you're easily like, all right, I'm going to swap this one out. I'm going to swap this one out. And then you're going to keep swapping, and then you're going to get stuck and you're not going to do it. So I'm glad you actually mentioned that, because it's one of those where, yeah, it's easy to make it, and then it's on the hard drive, and you're like, it's going to go, tomorrow's the day. It's going to go up tomorrow. Thursday's the day. It's going to go up Thursday.
Tomorrow's the day.
Yeah. Very
I'm going to do it. Yeah. They easily, man, and there's been many times where it's like, just use your cell phone. Just use this. And I could have done it long ago, because it's funny, because I've had a number of colleagues, that I've seen that they with their own practice and stuff like that, where they're just no fancy video equipment, no fancy audio equipment, like literally no more than their iPhone and their webcam, period. You know what I mean? Like, I'm using a shitty Logitech, which I don't even know if I could curse.
You can curse. You can curse on this one.
Okay. I'm using a shitty Logitech HD camera, which is good for business, but for video long term, it's okay. It's not like iPhone quality, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And I felt like, all right, I don't have the right hardware to do it. I feel like I need like a special camcorder or 4K, so on. And then it was like, when you and I were talking before, it was like, well, use your iPhone. I was like, why would I use my? And then I thought about it, I was like, oh, because it has a 4K camera at 60 frames per second. That's why.
Yes.
And you don't think about these things. It was like, you know what? I never thought about it. Like, it's actually a pretty high quality webcam, or at least a video recorder at the very least, if anything.
Yeah.
So, it's and these guys are just using their cell phones, just putting out content. And there's some that I would argue that like put way too much, like is overload. Like sensory overload practically, but they're still putting it out there nonetheless. Like nothing, like they're not afraid of anything, just pumping out content left and right. And I meanwhile, I'm just like worried about just hitting the record button on my thing. And it was just, I got to a point where it's like, no. Like I just got to start.
I wish I could remember this dude's name. I'm like trying to look it up on YouTube right now. There was a guy that was because sometimes you just need that example, and so I looked up Freely the Banana Girl. She used to, if those of you who know who I'm talking about, write it in the comments. Freely the Banana Girl used to date this other guy who was equally an insane vegan. I'm not saying he was insane because he was vegan. He truly was insane. He happened to be a vegan, and all of his videos were just vegan videos. And he shot them all on his phone. And it was like his arm, like holding up the phone, like in front of his face, just like FaceTime video. And hundreds of thousands of subscribers, hundreds of thousands. And it was one of those where it's like, it's the content. It's not the quality. It's not the background. It's not any of that stuff. And an example that I just had recently, actually, I'll pull it up now. I mean, you guys won't see it, but on my channel, I try to do like 3 or 4 videos a week. And the highest viewed video in the last, 3 months, this one's at 511 views already. Jeez. And I just released it not even a whole week ago. I released it 5 days ago. 511 views. It's the freaking my thoughts on the Joe Rogan Spotify thing, where I was sitting on my couch and was like, I gotta like just get my thought out there. Let me just do this on my phone. I didn't set up the camera. I didn't set up the lights. I didn't set up the lighting. None of it. I didn't even use this microphone. I just
went live.
I just did it on the phone. Not even live. I just turned on camera mode or video mode and just did it. And it's like, those are the things. It's like it a lot of times we'll get in our heads and we'll say like, everything's got to be right. Everything's got to be perfect. Nope. It's just, you just got to put it out there. And some of them that you think, it's funny, the ones that you think are going to pop off, most of the times they're not. It's those random ones. It's the ones where you're like, I kind of just want to do a video about this today. Like, it's sometimes that one. Or even, here's a bonus tip for you. Some of them say, if it's a video where you're like, this thing really stumped me and you figured it out and you're like, oh, I should tell other people how to do it. you make a YouTube video out of it. Sometimes that's the one. The one for me that I was like, this is dumb. I feel like I hate when people kind of do this because it feels like they're stunting or trying to flex. This is not an attempt to flex. I randomly, when they announced Disney, when Disney Plus was going to have Hulu and National Geographic and all that stuff in there, I was like, oh, how do you link Hulu with your Disney Plus? Like, I was like, how does that even work? And I just looked it up. I did a Google search on it. I'm trying to find it now. I just did a Google search on it, and it was like, oh,
because I was about to ask you that. Like, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. All I did was Google search it, and it came up. And right now, it's the second most watched video on my channel at 3.7 thousand. And it's a video that's 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
And it's so random. But I get what you're saying, like, because it's a problem. Obviously, that is, it's not just you. It's an obvious question that a lot of people are coming up with. I just came up with that question because now I'm wondering, do I need to link them and get rid of one or something like that?
Well, because then you're probably paying more than you should if you haven't linked them.
Talk about financial. There's
the financial guy.
Right I gotta check that out. But it's something so small. It's small. Like I would have never thought about that. I had no idea that they were that you could link them in the sense and kill one.
Yeah. No. You link them. You link them in the billing sense. You're not linking them as far as an app. So, the spoiler alert: you just have to use the same email on all of them. And Disney's like,
oh god.
Disney's like, oh, you have all that stuff. All right, we'll credit you back.
That's funny because they ain't doing that to me. No, I really got it.
Yeah. And even, and hell, you know what? The number one video on my channel, and this, I kick myself in the butt every week. I kick myself in the butt that I don't do another one of these videos. The struggle I have is that this doesn't interest me anymore, but I feel like I have to do it because the views on this one, my number one viewed video on this channel is how to make a Naruto headband. I released it 3 years ago. It's number one every month. It's at 4.7 thousand, and every month it's there. It's a top video. I made the video. I was in my apartment. I was bored, and I was just like, I feel like doing something tonight. And I was telling my coworker at the time about going to Anime Fest in Boston, and I was like, I didn't know Naruto was still a thing. I thought at that point I was out of anime altogether, and we can kind of wrap up on anime actually. But I was kind of out of anime. And I saw all these Naruto cosplayers, and I was like, didn't think it was a thing. And she's like, oh, my son is like hardcore into Naruto. And I was like, Naruto came out at that point 10 years ago. How is it still banging like that? And I was like, oh, it'd be cool if I made her son a Naruto headband. So I was like, all right, let me, I'll grab some foam and I'll make like a foam headband. And I was like, you know what? I'll just record it and throw it up on YouTube and see, just cause. And at that point, I had like 5 subscribers. And like, that stupid video, just got to do it. It always goes back to that.
Hey, man. And to be fun, I would argue, is that the video that made you go into this?
Into YouTubing?
Yeah.
No. I wish I could remember.
Like, what would have been the video that you did that would kind of like, all right, you know what? Like, I'm going to continue from this point on.
So, all right. No, that's a great question. So the channel started, I think it was 5 years ago. It was when I moved to Boston. It was around the time the channel started. I could actually just look on there and look at the oldest date. So I was sitting at home, and it was actually, thinking about Physiques of Greatness and Dana Lynn Bailey and Rob Bailey and like all these fitness YouTubers that I was like, oh, like it was an end goal. It was like, all of you have like these garage gyms and you're making money, like working out. And I feel like you're not doing anything differently than I can express type of thing. So I was like, I'll just try doing that too. So I went home. I think I used my GoPro, my first video 4 years ago. and the video was, where's my six pack? And I was trying to answer the question of people just always being like watching fitness YouTubers, and they're like, do these ab workouts to get a six pack. And I'm like, the ab workouts don't get you a six pack. Like, that's not how this works. So I made a video on it, and I ended up doing, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I did 20 videos that first year, and it was probably like one every, I think I was doing 2 a week for a while, and then became 1 a week. And the fitness thing was not grabbing my attention. So then I was like, all right, let me do cosplay, because that's currently my hobby that I'm enjoying. So I ended up making, I don't know, 6 cosplay videos. And I got bored with it. I'm like, this is not doing anything. So then you go back to last year, and I was sitting in my room, and I was like, I'm just sitting here not doing anything. And they released that day. What was the topic of that video? Oh, that day, I think the Endgame trailer came out. And I had also started doing stand-up comedy. Like, I went from just doing that one show Fridays to like, I'm going to actually start doing stand-up. And I was like, oh, I should do like a weekly show where I talk about nerdy stuff, but then talk about stand-up comedy. And that was kind of the thing where I was like, all right, I'm just going to talk to the camera. And by telling myself I'm going to talk to the camera and not have like, you're only talking about fitness or you're only talking about cosplay, it flowed easier. And those videos are shitty. Like, when I go back and watch those videos, I'm like, this is terrible. But I was like, all right, once a week, you're going to do a show and you're going to count down to something. I made a target. And for the HeyArcher show, I'm counting down to episode 1. And by episode 1, I will be on the Joe Rogan podcast. Like, that's my thought into the ether. And I even made a vision board that says that. And that was just it. I was just like, all right, every week I'm just going to come on. I'm just going to bullshit on whatever. And it just slowly morphed into a nerdy type channel, and one where I talk about reviewing stuff. And I'm like, other people review stuff too. I can do a better job. Do I really want to watch a 10-minute review on Star Wars or an hour review on fucking Alita Battle Angel? I think I can do that in 2 minutes or less. Bam. 2 minutes or less reviews come out. Like, it's that kind of thing, but it's only by doing it, because you're doing it and you're like judging other people and you're like, oh, I can do that better. Oh, I can do that better. And then you just,
you bring a good point, because I thought about that as well. Backtracking slightly in regards to the type of content that I want to put out there. So like, let's say for the finance content, for whether I was thinking maybe even doing like some videos kind of like geared towards like other colleagues or other professionals. Like, let's say like the younger crowds, those that are like, all right, now they're going into the accounting field, or maybe they're just like, they're running a firm also, where it's just like, what type of services are good and which ones are, shit. Because there's like so many different services available to us as accountants, and there's like so many of them that are great. There's like, so there was their pros, was their cons, they're really shitty cons, and then there's some services that are just like pure shit. Like, like, it's not worth spending the money or the headaches behind of it. So I kind of thought about doing that as well as like other types of content to put out. So, and it was that same thing like you're saying. It was just like, all right, because I'm seeing a lot of people like talk about these services, but no one's talking about like this one. Like, this is the one that's like, I feel like is going to be really good, but no one's talking about it. Like, I feel like I could do a video like that.
Yeah.
And I say that and I just procrastinate, because it's like, it never comes through.
Just release it.
I'm too, I'm just like, I'm fearful. Like, all right, no, who the hell am I? No one's going to want to hear me. Like, that's my thought process in my head. There's like, no one's going to know me. Like, I don't want to like put myself out there for like, ridicule or anything of that nature. And it's like, I was creating this fear.
Yeah.
And like, at the end of the day, it's not like it ever happened and like, okay, I got ridiculed, I got shitted on or whatever. It was like, I never did it. So, it was just really passing that point to that I'm really looking forward to like doing that type of content. And what you said is like spot on. I just feel like there's like so much video content where it's like, it kind of feels like you're almost doing like a copycat, but it's not, because it's your take on it. You know what I mean? Like, your opinion is very unique as regards to what you watch. So you can't see it as like, it's like something like, oh, it's been done before. There's been many things done before. There's been many channels done before.
Yeah.
So I agree with what you're saying. It's just, people want to hear your input and your points on it.
Yeah.
And I like your reviews because there are times where it's like I'm watching a review, kind of going back into your topic where it's like, I don't want to spend a review for like 30 minutes to talk about a movie that's like a third of the movie. For that, I might as well watch
for that. Yeah, just watch the movie
myself. You know what I mean? Yeah. Exactly. So like a 2-minute review actually does come through where it's like, you don't want to spend like hours, a half hour on an episode, which is the length of the episode.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like
that's
like
the other one too. Yeah.
I've seen these guys where it's like, I mean, it's one thing if you go into the topic and you go into rambling about like things in regards to the series, but if you're taking a half hour to like go into depth in regards to this episode, feel like you could trim it down a bit. There's only so much you could talk about.
Well, but hey, the other half of that is a lot of those people, they built a fan base on one part of it, and that's what drags everybody in. But then by having the different series, you'll have a fan base towards the series. And some people, like I remember there was Star Wars Resistance, I think is what it's called. It was a really crappy cartoon that came out. It was the last animated Star Wars series that came out.
Right, I was gonna say that's the one after the animated Clone Wars.
Yes.
Right?
Oh no, after Rebels. You had Clone Wars, you had Rebels, and then Resistance. But even Rebels, actually, that's another good example too. Like I ended up like saying to myself, like, all right, I want to see what happens, but these shows are like they're boring me. Like these aren't good. They're not as good as Clone Wars. And I stumbled upon that Star Wars girl, and she would review an episode, but then she morphed into telling you about the episode. And then I'm like, you know what? I could watch the episode for 30 minutes, but watching you like get all pissed off and yell at the camera about the episode and taking 35 minutes to me is way more entertaining than me watching the actual episode. So like that it pulled me in.
You bring a good point. I agree with you on that. There are times where I guess you go back to the topic, like the personality is what brought you into that. Yeah. Well, you make a good point there.
And that's it. It's all people. It's sales 101. People buy you, they don't buy the product.
That's a very good phrase. Yeah.
So I guess we actually almost hit an hour. We're almost at that mark. See how time flies when you're doing podcasting? It's amazing.
Yeah. It's so crazy, dude. I can't believe I popped my video cherry on this.
There you go.
but it's very more. It's not. It's just like having a normal conversation.
It is.
For those out there that are afraid to like go into like a video like interview like this, it's pretty much you just act normal.
It's just a normal talk. So before we wrap it up, because you're more of an anime head than I am, so let's see if the loyal listeners and watchers of this show will agree with your list to some other people we've had on the show. What are the shows right now as an anime fan that I should be watching that I'm not? And I'm going to take your list, compare it to, I did an episode with Nerds and Hip Hop, which is he runs an Instagram page. That's amazing. So I had his list, and then I had Gerby on, who's also an anime head. He gave me his list. So I want to hear if you got maybe 3 or 5. If you got 1, that's fine. But what anime should I be watching now? And what anime, in turn, do you think the audience here should be watching?
I got 2 that are definite. Okay. Demon Slayer.
Yep,
that's one. Mm-hmm. I can't pronounce the rest of the phrase on it. That's an easy top of the list. Even though the first season just ended, and I know the manga just finished wrapping up recently. I read, which I've not read the manga at all. And this is probably one of the one scenarios where like the animation was just like so good. Like I'd rather wait for it. If it never came out, I would definitely go into the manga. But like that's one. Dr. Stone that came out on Crunchyroll. That one's really good. And you said 3, right? Those were the only 2 on the top of my head.
Did you watch the one that really the guy who made One Punch Man when he didn't come back? What's that?
What do you mean? You talking about
Yes.
Mob 100 or Psycho 100?
Yeah.
That one was good. That's another one that you can't go. There's like so many, man. And some of them are like escaping my mind, but like they're definitely on the list. There was one Megaton boxing, something like that. That one was good. To be honest, like I wasn't a big Crunchyroll head
Mm-hmm.
in the old days, but like like downloading series is just like a little too time consuming.
Yes.
Especially now,
Yeah.
because we're in the professional field. It's like several years ago, it was like, well, I don't have the revenue. I'll just download it.
Yeah.
Things are different now, but now they make it so easy. It's like, all right, I'll spend the $4, for whatever.
Yeah.
But damn, One Punch Man is good, but that's already been out for a good while now. Mob 100 was good, but the two that I mentioned are good. But this right now, honestly, there's not a lot coming out due to the COVID.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them have been pretty much like on, all right, well, we're gonna be taking a break until further notice. But those are the two that were like in the last year that I could think of. Really like, all right, like I watched it from beginning to end. At least anime wise. Yeah. The other ones that I used to watch that were like I'm talking about like childhood, was like One Piece, but that's like, man, that's too far.
Still going.
Still going on. And to be honest, I feel like it's like several hundred videos too long at this point. Like I wouldn't even be able to like remotely tell you what episode I was on, because I'll probably be like a half the lifespan of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, those were the two on the top of my list right now. I'm pretty sure there's more. Maybe Fire Patrol.
That was the other one that they mentioned. Yep.
That was another one, right? But I haven't finished watching that, so I have to catch up in regards to that to give you my input in regards.
All right, I'll start with Demon Slayer. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I'll start Demon Slayer. That's 3 people now who've said that, I think, as their first choice.
Yeah, because the story is just so good, and the animation was like, to be honest, it was pretty like perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see like some series that like they started, and then later they transition to like different studios,
mm-hmm.
and it just turns into crap. Like I give you an example, which and to be honest, I have not watched this series at all. I probably like old school Dragon Ball Z. Like I've caught like random episodes online where people use it for like memes,
mm-hmm.
which kind of tells you what was it? The 7 Deadly Sins.
Yes.
That's like a perfect example where like they started strong, and then you see all these videos that are like critiquing season 3, like, and I'm talking about like they're like butchering it, like the studios butchered that animation. You know what I mean? Like when they switched, it kind of went downhill, which kind of made me not want to watch even season 1 and 2, even if they were done by the proper studio. Like I just kind of lost my interest to want to watch it as a whole, because I feel like I'm gonna get disappointed when I get to that level. So I want to avoid not disappointing myself by just avoiding it altogether.
Yeah.
I wonder if other people feel like that, but that's me personally. Like if I hear something bad to that level, like I'll just not watch it altogether to avoid disappointment.
I feel you.
But the Demon Slayer is definitely like, that's easily on the top. And to be honest, so is Dr. Stone, I would say, because they were both really good, man. Like honestly, like I really like both as a series as a whole. Like you couldn't go wrong with either one.
All right. So what I'm gonna have to do here is I'm gonna have to supercut all 3 of you guys saying Demon Slayer, and then that will be the intro to my 2-minute reviews on Demon Slayer. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. Have you watched it at all yet?
No.
Oh.
So I'll do it.
But at least now you're going in with an expectation, which makes me wonder, like, are you going to critique it even harder now?
No, because if it's that good, I'll get through it. Because, I mean, a good example of that is one that you got me into, which was Full Metal Alchemist. Like all of you back in the day were like, Full Metal Alchemist is awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll watch it. And then I watched it, and I was like, this is awesome. So if it holds up, it holds up. And then Brotherhood came out.
I think you'll like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then quick thing, and we'll wrap up. I've said that twice, I think. But with One Piece, I remember I went out with this girl, and she mentioned One Piece in her profile. And I was like, man, she's kind of like attractive to like know what One Piece is. No offense to any of you nerd girls out there, but that's what I was thinking. And we go on a date, And the date was okay. But then I was like, so tell me about the One Piece thing. And she explained how she actually like thoroughly loves it. And she was up to like episode like 600, whatever, or something like that. And it was one of those like, the dating went on longer than it should have, but it definitely went a good amount of distance. Cause I'm like, she likes One Piece. She must be cool because only cool people like One Piece. So it didn't work out in the end. That's my One Piece story.
You didn't love One Piece enough.
I didn't even watch it. I still have never watched an episode of One Piece.
It was doomed from the start.
It was doomed from the start. But when you tell me, you're like, oh, you got to watch the show. I'm like, all right, cool. And you're like 1,000 episodes deep. It's like, all right. So I'm gonna hard pass it for now. I'll take the L on that one. Yeah. So, where can everybody find you, or can they not find you just yet?
Okay. They could definitely find me online as far as my website, which is www.simplify.tax.
Mm-hmm.
I plan to put up the links to like the podcast and anything I do there, kind of like something like on the top of the web thing, like, hey, check out our YouTube or our podcast channel.
Yep.
To make it as a quick thing. And then probably in Instagram, I'll definitely be changing my handle some way or form or creating a new one. Haven't figured that out yet, but the fastest way to check me out is just honestly a company website, not soliciting in any way, shape, or form. But like once I go live, I'll definitely affiliate it with the business one way or another. So it's a www.simplify.tax.
Awesome. And then I'll put that in the description. And then once you do launch your social media and launch your YouTube channel, not only will they be there, but I will update the description to have those links down below.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like that Nerdy Money handle is coming out better versus the Dirty Money. Dirty Money has just so many meanings. Yeah, it could be meant in so many ways.
I tell you what, though, you might get a lot of people who just click the video because it says Dirty Money. I was thinking about that after I said it. I was like, Nerdy Money is more applicable to your channel, or what will be your channel. But then I was like, but Dirty Money actually you might get a lot of random clicks.
So bad it's good.
Yeah. They'll be on it, be like, what is that? Like this, the fuck's this loser talking about Dragon Ball Z for? Yeah. But you'll get clicks. So a clickbait, I guess that would be your.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's what matters, I guess, at that point. Well, sir, it was a pleasure. It was an honor.
Likewise.
I cannot wait until you actually launch everything, so then I can follow all of it, because I think you're going to do very well at it, considering this was your first podcast experience. It was actually very, very good. Way more advanced than I would have been doing my first one. I'll tell you that for sure.
Thank you, good sir. Can't wait to start and have you on it as well.
Yes. So everybody, again, like, comment, and subscribe. The HeyArcher merch, things like the mug you guys are always asking about. My line of, was it Nerd Affiliated? I can't believe I actually forgot what it was called. Nerd Affiliated, all of that. You can go on the HeyArcher website, heyarcher.com, purchase all of that cool stuff. And then, of course, HeyArcher on all social media, youtube.com/HeyArcher, etc., etc. It was a pleasure. It was an honor. I can't wait to see all of you in the next episode. But most importantly, I'll talk to all you nerds in the next video.